Well, welcome back, folks. Today we're going to talk about the top cover. This is the top cover right here that fits on top of the unit. I'm going to remove that top cover for two reasons. One is I want to get in there into the cavity in here and clean it out really well. I know there's water in there. We've talked about that before. I'm expecting some sludge in the bottom. And do a thorough cleaning. And number two, the piston right in here, it's up underneath here, that activates the 3-point, the lift arms here and here. I want to take a look at. I'll probably replace at least the seal on the piston, if not the piston and the seal both, but I'm going to get the top cover off to do that. I don't believe this top cover has ever been off before. There are, I don't know, 10 or 12 bolts that go around the perimeter. I did get those out okay. And the reason I don't think it's ever been off is I saw no tool marks on any of the bolts, the fasteners. It just didn't give me the appearance that it's ever been tampered with. And it was really stuck on there. I mean, after all, this has been on there for close to 75 years now. And I tapped it with a brass hammer. I used some 2x4s underneath the lift ears right here and here to try to pop it up. Didn't get anywhere with that. It wasn't going anywhere. You can see the chain right there that I've rigged up. I'm going to have to MacGyver a lift process or mechanism of some kind to be able to support the weight. It's not that it's terribly heavy, though it is stout. It's really more of a matter of awkward. And there is a rod that goes down into the transmission that activates the hydraulic pump, so I got to be careful of that. Now, you don't want to bang it around. The awkwardness of the configuration and the setup, I'm not going to attempt to remove it alone, and I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. But I do have the chain rigged up there. Back to breaking it free. I didn't really want to get too physical with it. That is, I didn't want to wail on it or put a pry bar underneath here where the spring is for the 3-point. I could probably have gotten a pry bar underneath there and try to lever it up. I didn't want to obviously break any of the casting, so I had to think it through. And I did come up with a solution to pop it loose. It is loose right now. You can move it around. I did come up with a solution that worked actually quite well, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here you can see the setup that I used to loosen that top cover. I've got a bottle jack, a small bottle jack. I have a couple of those. That's a 6-ton. Bottle jack, a piece of 2x4 that goes up underneath one of those, I'll call it ear. Let me zoom in on that for you a little bit. You can see the ear right there I'm pointing to. There's one on each side, of course, that the lift arms are attached to. So I wedged the 2x4 up underneath that ear, and then with the jack on the bottom, I just started jacking. And my original thinking was that I would jack it up enough to put the full weight of this tire, this side of the tractor, this is the right side of the tractor, the weight up against that ear on the cover, and just let it set. And eventually I was figuring the weight of the tractor would work to my advantage and pop the cover loose. Well, it worked, and it worked right away. As soon as I jacked it up and just got the tire to just get the weight off of it, almost off the ground completely, the cover just popped loose. Just pop. And that was it. So then I moved around to the other side and duplicated the process over on the left side over here, just because the cover kind of did this. It was loose, but pretty much only on this right side. So I did the same thing on the left side of the tractor, and the whole cover is loose now. So it didn't take very long. It wasn't very, there was nothing physical involved. I didn't have to hammer and pry and wedge and all that kind of thing. I just used the weight of the tractor to my advantage, and it worked better than I initially thought. I figured I might have to leave it overnight. Didn't take that long. Literally took seconds once I got the weight of the tire or the weight of the unit on that assembly. Well, I managed to get the top cover off the 8N. I got my neighbor from across the street, the person I bought the tractor from, he just came over and took us literally a minute to get it off. It's more bulky than it's heavy, but there's a long rod that goes down into control the valve on the pump, or valves, and I didn't want to take a chance in damaging something. We'll take a look at the top cover in just a minute. The inside is reasonably clean. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit for you, and we might end up moving the camera around a bit. That's the front of the tractor that way at the top. Again, it's reasonably clean. There's a little bit of sludge in the bottom. I've switched to a handheld mode. I'm not fond of using a handheld method of recording because I find it a little jerky when other people do it, but I can't get my camera in here otherwise. But that's towards the rear of the tractor right there. You see a little bit of a grunge there on the lip, but as you look down in there, you can see the drive shaft there closest to the camera. And I think you get a sense of what it looks like down in there. Again, it's not as dirty as what I was expecting. The tube you see there at the bottom of the picture is where the hydraulic fluid flows from the pump, which fits in the bottom opening you can see there. You can see the cardboard through there. Flows through that tube and then up through the top cover to activate the hydraulic piston that raises and lowers the lift arms. So again, not near as bad as I was expecting. Most of the grunge and the goop was way down at the bottom on those ledges at the bottom of the casting. So I used some kerosene, a little paintbrush. I put a couple of buckets underneath there to catch the wash of the kerosene and brake fluid that I ultimately used to wash it down after I hit it with the kerosene and the paintbrush, and it came out, I think, pretty good. Cleaner than what it's probably been since it was brand new in early 1950 or so. That shaft you see right there is the drive shaft. The rear end or differential of the tractor is to the left. The engine is to the right. The PTO, which obviously you wouldn't see in this view, it's out anyway, but the PTO would be underneath that drive shaft that you see right there. That mechanism, you see that cone-shaped mechanism to the top of the space is controls the activation, or you flip a lever. You can just see the top of it right there. You flip that lever and that engages the PTO. That's what that's for. Anyway, it came out quite clean. And getting that gasket off of that surface, you can see there I've got the gasket all cleaned up. That was quite a project. It was a asbestos gasket, so I ended up using a scraper. I could use to scrape a window with a single-sided razor blade. Took my time, went through a lot of blades, but I did ultimately get the gasket off. Wore a mask and gloves, the whole 9 yards, to protect myself from that asbestos, but it came out really clean. You're looking at the bottom side of the cover, so it's reversed. This is the ram or cylinder. This is the control rod that comes down from the lever, which is on the opposite side here. You can see the lever over there in the corner, I think. That would be right here. This rod is what controls that butterfly on the hydraulic pump that fits in the bottom of the cavity. And this is what I needed to protect when I removed it or lifted it off the transmission. It is free. You can see that right there. The lift arms are free. And the piston I don't know about yet. This whole assembly will come off. I'll inspect the piston, probably replace it with a more current or newer version. This is no doubt the original, with seals and everything goes with that. I have to measure the length of these control springs here. There's a specification for that. Generally clean it up. I haven't figured out quite how I'm going to do that yet, but that does need to be done. The gasket removed. This is an asbestos-based gasket, by the way, so you have to be careful removing that. I've talked about that before, but that's what the bottom side looks like. Not terribly complicated. But we will come back to this eventually, and as I get into a little further, and I'll share more details with you at that time. Got the cylinder and piston removed from the top cover. Piston, very similar to automotive style. It's very heavy. That's a cast piston. 3 rings, again, very automotive-like. That right there is the socket where the rod that attaches to the hydraulics fits into. Remember, this is a single acting cylinder, so the hydraulic pressure would come in from this side and pushes the piston like this, pushing against the rod, which then activates the hydraulic lift arms. It doesn't need to be attached because when the pressure is released from this end, the weight of the arms in any implement attached would push the piston back automatically. So it's a single acting cylinder, but the piston is actually in pretty good condition. The cylinder I can't see the same for. I'm a little disappointed. It's got some pretty deep gashes and scoring in it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right here where my index finger is pointing to, it's got pretty deep scar. And I don't know what got in there, but you can't really, I don't think I can hone that out, or I'm not going to. I was hoping I'd be able to reuse the cylinder, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to try to replace it. You can get these all over used, and they do make repops as well that are like $75 to $100 US to buy a repop cylinder. So I think I'm just going to either try to find a good used one, or perhaps just move on to a repop and replace this, because I don't think I can hone that out and make it fit right, because that is very, very deep, and it goes, not only is it deep into the cylinder, but it goes down into the cylinder quite a ways as well. And there's more than one serious scratching. Not sure exactly how that happens. Must have been some contamination that got up into the hydraulic fluid. By the way, right here, this is where this hole right here, you can see the remnants of the gasket. That's where the hydraulic fluid enters the cylinder itself, and goes in and out depending on what's going on with the activation lever on the control. Here is a replacement piston. I think I might have mentioned somewhere along the way that they had upgraded the piston. This is the new style. This is brand new. It's a replacement or repop. It's functionally identical, but it looks obviously different, and it doesn't use 3 rings like this one. It uses rather an O-ring with a backer ring, and this backer ring is, I think, some kind of a leather or something. Originally it was leather. I don't know if this is made out of leather or not, but that fits in something like that and replaces these 3 metal rings, or cast. Those are probably cast rings, cast iron. So that's the condition of the cylinder. A little disappointing, but nonetheless, I'll make it work one way or the other. I have not done much more of the top cover yet. That'll probably be in another video as I get further into the top cover. That is cleaning it, removing the gasket, and talking about other incidentals related to that piece. So that's going to be it for this video today, folks. Any issues, questions, thoughts, drop me a note. Otherwise, as usual, thanks for watching.